Steam! It's all well and good when it's the gaseous form of water, not so much when it's a PC gaming storefront releasing dozens of games every week. What's out? What's good? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. Here's a bit of local multiplayer that you should definitely include next time you meet up to play Nidhogg, Towerfall or Samurai Gun, because it's great, and also because it's not a sodding platformer. Bad Blood sees two players hunting one another through undergrowth with one-hit kills and both of you completely invisible unless you move too fast. It's a game of predator and prey that's actually worthy of that cliched catchphrase. By looking at landmarks and then rotating them in your head, you realise that maybe your opponent is stood right there, and then it's a game of existing in the heartbeat where you're deciding whether to go for the kill and reveal yourself or sprint away in case they're about to try the same thing. It plays, looks and sounds so good, and it's also the work of a single person who did the art design and coding, just like Undertale. What are they feeding these kids? I know what you're thinking. Anno, isn't that Ubisoft's boring city building franchise? And listen, it's not, or it might be. I've never actually played it before. The point is, Anno 2205 is new and it's awesome. You're managing 3 colonies at once, one in the tropics, one in the Arctic, and one on the bloody moon, but all of them have unique, exquisite art design, and the whole game moves at an almost apologetic pace, with the designers going, "Do you like this? Hang on, I've got something else. Just stay there for a minute. Hang on!" Before you know it, you'll be examining bottom lines and shipping things between your colonies to level them up. Look, this is where I make intelligent jackets. This is where I make moon lunches. Oh, people on Earth would love to get some of those sexy moon lunches, but shipping them is prohibitively expensive. I love it! I love it! If you're a fan at all of city building or looking at tiny men and women doing tiny menial tasks while you in turn do tiny menial tasks, it's good. Sibylle, Kibble? This is an interesting and autobiographical game that tells the story of a girl falling in love while she plays an MMO. Part romance story, part distinctly unsettling privacy-invading teenage girl desktop simulator, Sibylle Kibble has you poking through designer Nina Freeman's actual live journal posts, chat logs and selfies, and then chatting shit and killing monsters in a pretend virtual world. It's only an hour long, so do take that in mind before buying it, but I really liked Kibble. At my lowest, I felt like a seedy voyeur, which was interesting, and at my highest, I found myself shouting at my monitor in anger, but in a good way. At one point, my real-life doorbell rang, right? And for a split second, I thought that it was him, the boy from the game. He'd come to give me a kiss on my mouth, which was weird, and I thought it was funny, so I tweeted this to Nina, the designer, and she replied, and then I closed that chat window and opened some pretend chat windows where I was Nina and then felt completely unmoored from reality, so that was nice. If you like romance stories set on imaginary desktops, you could also check out Emily Is Away. It's not as expensively made as Sibylle, but it's also free, so there you go. It's literally nothing more than some chat windows, and it's also not a true story, but it is a better story, and it's free with a donation option in the main menu, so what are you complaining about? Stop being a twat. Tharsis, da-da-da-da-da, your ship is so f***ed, da-da-da-da-da-da, ship is so f***ed. Tharsis is a single-player board game that's delivered to you as a video game, and it's about completing a space fight in a ruined ship with failing systems. It's basically The Martian, the video game. Pros: the puzzle is interesting, managing crew members and dice and growing food to get more dice and figuring out which problems to fix is all good. It's satisfying to drop dice into sockets and get rewards. My god, I mean, this is exactly how you do dice in a video game. Quick rolling, chunky sound effects, no bouncing, weighing the physics down at the end for a quick result. Mwah! And also, this is a strategy game where you have to roll a hard 6 sometimes, just like in Battlestar Galactica. And when you do roll a hard 6, you'll want to pee yourself with excitement. Cons: the only extra content you can unlock in Tharsis wants you to play the game an insulting number of times. So it might as well not exist, giving the game a lifespan of about 2 hours, unless you fall head over heels in love with the puzzle, except the puzzle isn't that rich, so, yeah. Tharsis, Here's an interesting counterpoint. If Tharsis is the video game equivalent of a nudist wandering around with its integers and probabilities waggling in the breeze, Kingdom is a never nude. It's a game of rebuilding your kingdom without a single number, or so much as a word of dialogue outside of the tutorial. In what might be the most accurate depiction of a leader in a video game ever, your only means of interacting the world is to fling money at it. Fling money at a wanderer, they'll join you. Fling money at a tree, someone will probably cut it down, and so on. I won't spoil any more, aside to say that it's really interesting and good, not great, but my god, that pixel art and the weather, ooh, it makes you feel like a princess with the wind blowing up your wahooza-watsits. Oh, baby, baby, it's a nuclear throne. A trio of amazing early access games officially released in the last couple of months. Most importantly, Nuclear Throne by Dutch screenshake purveyors Vlambeer. I'm sure you've heard of this game, but you must try it as well. It's one part roguelike, one part bullet hell shmup, and it's all about juggling weapons and ammo in a mad panic. If there's a moment that defines Nuclear Throne, it's picking up a new gun and then immediately killing yourself with it. The finished release is staggeringly good. Vlambeer have always been pros at the weight and feel of action games, but Nuclear Throne is their most ambitious release, and it's been iterated on in early access for actual years. So yeah, it's an awesome shooter. And the options there if you want to get embarrassingly good at it and loop the game and waggle your daily challenge score in everyone's face. But it's also just fun and funny at any level. When you find yourself battling robot snipers with a grenade launcher in one hand and a screwdriver in the other, in the moments before you die, you'll be giggling like a buffoon. I'm gonna enjoy posting this edition of Steam Surfers and spreading news of great games around the world like Digital Jam, but mostly I'm gonna be happy because it lets me get back to my Darkest Dungeon campaign. This is an early access success story that has finally also officially been released and now has such luxuries as an ending. And I love it! The plot is that you're the woe-begotten relative of a destroyed dynasty that was into some dark stuff, the darkest stuff around as it happens, and now you're back to reclaim your poisoned estate expedition by expedition, slowly repairing the village, managing a roster of heroes and fretting about why your healer has contracted syphilis. Again. To some people, the real hell is going to be the amount of micromanaging in Darkest Dungeon, right down to letting employees go if they keep coming to work drunk, but the real story here is the deadly game of risk-reward you're playing. If you bail out of an expedition halfway through, your party suffers horrific stress penalties. But if you push on, then your risk of losing a hero or 2 or 3 or 4 and then is growing, and then you're face palming with one hand and clicking on the wagon to welcome pathetic newcomers to your barracks with the other. It's so much fun with so much to discover. If you haven't checked out Darkest Dungeon yet, now's the time. Of course, if you want a real horror game, you could try managing tube networks in Mini Metro. Another excellent early access game that's recently declared itself finished. It's very simple. You have these stations, and then people pop up wanting to go to other stations, and you connect those stations, and then a new station pops up, and you go, I got this, guys. And then one pops up on the other side of a river, and you're out of bridges, and you panic, and you just give me a minute. If I put a carriage here, and it. So like I say, it's very simple. I used to call Destiny the world's most expensive podcast player. Mini Metro is kind of another one of those, and I don't mean that at all in a bad way. Load it up, pop on a podcast, fix the world's public transport one city at a time while learning about Unix, bliss. If you are on the lookout for a management game, you'd be an absolute power tool for buying Punch Club instead of Darkest Dungeon, but if you finish the latter and you're eager to dominate more imaginary life forms, Punch Club is quite honestly not shit. I absolutely hate the tone, which is a slimy melange of pop culture references that feels devoid of bravery or an author, but you can click on a fridge and drink a Coke and then go and do press-ups in your garage, so that's nice. Fans of existential misery should also think seriously about picking up the new Pathologic Hd Remaster. This legendary Russian RPG of a plague afflicting a rural village was released to little fanfare in the West back in 2005, partially due to a dodgy translation, mostly because it massively overestimated the demand of artistic intelligent games the world over. There's no fixing that, but the visuals and translation have been updated for the HD re-release, proving, as if it was needed, that even with a functional script, Pathologic makes as much sense as a fart in a fridge. I wrote a 3-part love letter on this game back in the day that I'll link in this video's description on coolghost.net, but in a nutshell, Pathologic's worth picking up for featuring one of the earliest uses of magical realism in a narrative game. It's so creative and unusual in its design to have absolutely no peers. It is the bleakest video game ever made, and it has some of the best narrative beats you'll ever encounter in this medium. It's also almost unplayable, but it's absolutely worth trying just as a curio. I don't know what else to tell you, aside from the fact that quickly you'll realise the game's disease affects more than just people. And that's it for this week's edition of Steam servers. But oh my god, okay, at the time of writing, Homeworld Deserts of Karak has just come out, and I've heard it's great, a true successor to the fantastic Homeworld RTS games from back in the day that I love, so could you guys get out of here? I need to get to work on the next Steam servers. What a chore. If there's an underrated PC game you'd love to see given a shout out on Steam servers, why not tell me on coolghosts.net? And if I've steered you towards a wise purchase or two, why not repay the favour on coolghosts.net/Patreon?